Alright, starting off, we have our main character. Let's get to meet him right now! Starting off our quest, we meet Alaron, the playable character, the main character. He is the character that the story revolves around. If he dies, the game is over, so take care not to get him killed. He starts off at level 1 with the starting equipment of short sword, leather armor, and small shield. He is a solar fighter, which means he fights better during the day. I'll get more into that later on. His starting stats, to briefly go over what all the stats are. Hit points is obviously your health bar. If it hits 0, your character dies. Intelligence is your ability to cast spells, use Lore Master, and use ranged weapons. Willpower improves defenses against enemy spells. Dexterity, which you really should put a lot of XP into, improves your combat movement, number of actions taken in a round, defenses against enemy weapon attacks, and your chances of getting to hit with a weapon. Endurance represents how much physical damage you can take before you die. Strength improves chances of success and how much damage you deal per hit. And Stamina powers magic spells and certain actions. And it goes down a bit when you take a hit or use a spell or use healing moves or whatever. As for starting skills, these are just the skills available as Alaron. There are other skills you can learn throughout the game, but we'll just list off the ones that are right before us. Stealth improves your ability to sneak past monsters. Troubadour allows players to play and sing music to inspire the party and reduce the enemy's chances of success. Basically, think Scanlan from Critical Role. Warrior improves attack and defense and raises critical hit chances. Wizard improves chances of casting spells and also improves critical hit chances of casting spells. Hafted improves chances of hitting with hafted weapons like axes or clubs. Missile improves chances of hitting with bows. Sword improves chances of hitting with a sword or daggers. And shield improves your defenses when using a shield. Again, there are more skills you can learn, but these are just the starting ones for him. As to how Alaron functions in-game, Alaron serves as a jack-of-all-trade. He can learn every skill and every spell in the book. So whatever you need him to be, he can fit. If you need a powerful wizard, he can do that. If you need an upfront fighter, he can do that as well. Really, he can be whatever you need him to be, so mold him to what you think you need for your party. First on the list is Abrecan, starting level 8, Solar Fighter, starting equipment, Broadsword, Aidyn Scale, and Kite Shield. Starting skills are Stealth, although he has a -1 to his 1, so really he has no stealth. Warrior, Sword, Throne, which improves his chances of hitting with throwing weapons like throwing knives, and Shield. Abrecan is a full-on tank. He can take a punishment and dish it back just as hard. In combat, he should be on the front lines of every encounter, absorbing the damage and then delivering justice. For a starting player, he is an absolute must-have, as he is at the highest level of anyone else in the game at this point, and he's just so fucking good at what he does. Abrecan cannot learn any magical spells, and he is one of 4, technically 5 characters that cannot learn the wizard skill. He also cannot learn Alchemist, Thief, or Missile. Also keep in mind that because he wears a lot of armor, his dexterity is going to be at a disadvantage, which means he will be missing strikes a lot, and when we get to Araman, that's going to become a problem, so invest in dexterity when you can. Next on the list is Rheda, starting level 3, a solar fighter and a naming wizard. Starting equipment is a staff and leather armor. Starting skills are Lore Master, which allows you to learn more information from textbooks, Merchant, which will allow you to barter better for lower buy prices and higher sales prices at the store, Wizard, Pole, which will allow you to fight better with pole weapons like staff, and swords. She cannot learn Missile or Throne. Her starting spells are Versus Necromancy, Endurance, Sensor, and Weakness, and I'll be getting into those later. Rheda is a good character to have in combat because she is basically responsible for your buffs and your debuffs. She's for powering up your party and for weakening your enemies from a distance. She's not terrible in physical combat, but like Abrecan, she tends to miss a lot, and she's really just meant to be a support mage. But hey, a good combat party member. And last up is the oddball scientist Godric, starting level 2, lunar fighter and a user of elemental magic. Starting equipment dagger and cloth armor, starting spell dragon flames at level 2. Starting skills are Alchemist, which allows the creation of various potions through herbs, spices, and gemstones, Lore Master, Mechanic, which is the ability to disarm traps and create armor from various materials, Wizard, Sword, and Throne. He cannot learn Hafted, Missile, or Shield. Godric is a weird choice. He's not really a good in-combat party member, he doesn't hit particularly hard, and he's very slow. However, his out-of-combat skills are very good, and the ability to make yourself potions without having to spend a ton of money at the store is very useful if you're trying to save money early on, because things later on do get expensive. Personally, I don't like Godric all that much as a combat character anyway. His personality is a lot of fun in the game, but as far as a party member, I'm not the biggest fan of him. But if you want to use him, I won't stop you. Not that I could stop you anyway. Okay, no, I didn't really forget about Brenna, I was just doing a lead up. But anyway, our real final party member, at least for now, is Brenna, starting level 1, a solar fighter and a user of elemental magic. Starting equipment is dagger and leather armor. Starting skills are mechanic, stealth, which will allow you to move around without being noticed and increases your chances of camping without getting ambushed. Thief, which will allow you to pick locks and climb certain walls. Sword and throne. She cannot learn hafted, missile, or shield. Brenna is a thief, and a pretty good one. Thief and mechanic go hand in hand, one to pick the lock, the other to disarm the trap that's in the chest you're trying to open. So she's pretty competent and will continue to be so as long as you invest in those skills. Stealth on PC is kind of hard to muster because unlike N64, you can't really control your movement speed, but it's useful for camping purposes. In combat, she is a terrible frontline fighter, but a terrific flanker. If you can get her around and directly behind the enemy to attack, she deals a ton of damage. She is a good fighter, you just need to think tactically with her. Also to keep in mind, she is very weak defensively, and it does not take many hits to down her from a powerful foe. Something that does bother me a bit about her is that even though she clearly looks like someone who could kick ass with a bow, she cannot learn the missile skill, which is the skill that increases chance of hitting with a bow. It's kind of ridiculous. But other than that, I think she's a lot better than the majority of fans give her credit for, and I really don't think you do good wrong by having her. Well, I mean, you're kind of forced to have her, so tough shit.
So we've been hearing about this guy all throughout Guernia, and now we have the chance to add Sir Becan to the party. Becan is level 4, a lunar fighter, starting equipment battle axe, chainmail, and large shield. Starting abilities are ranger, stealth at a -3, warrior, hafted, missile, and shield. He cannot learn alchemist, wizard, sword, and throne. He's another one of those characters that cannot learn any magical spells whatsoever. Becan functions a lot like Abrecan does. He takes hits and he deals damage back. The downside is that whereas Abrecan starts at level 8, Becan starts at level 4, which isn't too far below the rest of the party, but still, he's going to have to play catch-up if you want to use him. Although, as you can see, he does wield some pretty nice stats. Also keep in mind that there are some pretty tough fights coming up. Having Abrecan and Becan in the party at the same time basically means a wall of steel and pure physical offense. But with the party I have right now, the only way I'd be able to add him is to lose Abrecan, as Brenna will never leave the party unless killed, and Rheda will not leave on her own until a certain point in the game. The only way I'd recommend Becan at this stage in the game is if you lost a party member and need to fill a slot, if you picked Godric and he just hasn't been working out for you, or if you're tired of Abrecan and would like to have a bit of a challenge. Or you're one of those people who killed Brenna off, which I really don't recommend, but, you know, I can't stop you. One last thing to note, if you take him and at any point you swap him out for someone else, although he says he will go back to Araman, in reality he will disappear from the game forever, so only lose him if you intend on getting him back. He's kind of a tough party member to manage to fit in, depending on the kind of party you have, but if you want him, he can be a very useful party member.
Arturo, a level 13 solar warrior. Starting equipment is a great sword, improved plate, and tower shield. Starting skills are stealth at a -1, warrior, pole, sword, and shield. He cannot learn alchemist, loremaster, thief, troubadour, wizard, missile, and throne. He's one of the 5 who cannot learn any magical spells at all. Arturo is built like a fucking tank. His strength and endurance are already maxed, and he has a ton of health, so he's already well equipped to do exactly what he needs to do, which is take a lot of damage and dish it back tenfold. If you're in the market for a new tank, either you've lost Abrecan and Becan or you're just ready to replace them, Arturo is your guy. He's a perfect replacement. Fair warning, he is ridiculously slow and probably won't get the chance to move much unless you invest in dexterity, which is already at a huge disadvantage. In addition, he's gonna be pretty susceptible to magic attacks due to low wisdom and intelligence. On top of all that, his skill tree is very shallow, so he's not very flexible. He's designed to do only the one thing, tank. But he's terrific at that job, so I'd say go for it if you wanna. Keelin, my heart for Keelin. Starting level 12, a lunar fighter and a user of elemental magic. Starting equipment are a short sword and dragon leather. Starting skills are healer, merchant, stealth, thief, wizard, missile, pole, and sword. Starting spells are versus elemental, remove poison, and wind. She cannot learn hafted, throne, and shield. Best way I can describe Keelin is she's Brenna 2.0. She's a very accomplished thief, and she's already very close to maxing that skill out. With the rope on her, there is literally not a single chest in the game she can't unlock, although having mechanic would probably help her out better. Her dexterity is already maxed out, meaning she can move freely and often across the map. Also, unlike Brenna, Keelin can use the missile skill. That's right, a thief that can use a bow in this game. She's very versatile. She can be used as either an offensive mage, a long-ranged fighter, or a backstabber. Bottom line, there's a reason most players tend to kill off Brenna for Keelin. She is the superior option. I'm not going to do that because I've committed to seeing Brenna through to the end of the game, but if you want to pick her up, I highly recommend it. She is honestly one of the best party members in the game. Side warning, if you don't pick her up here, she will move to another location, but sometimes she just disappears from the game forever, so just a heads up. We met him earlier, and now we get to travel with him. Niesen is a level 20 solar elemental wizard. Starting equipment is the Archmage's staff and enchanted plate. Starting skills are Alchemist, Healer, Loremaster, Mechanic, Stealth at -5, Wizard, Pole, and Throne. Starting spells are Versus Star, Versus Necromancy, Fireball, Mirror, and Dispel Necro. Niesen is probably the most powerful spellcaster in the game. His wizard skill and his intelligence are both maxed out, meaning when he hits you with a fireball, it's gonna fucking hurt. As far as physical prowess goes, well, yeah, you're better off just keeping him in the back doing his thing. Niesen is a story-centric party member, so there's no way you can't have him. However, despite what the game says, you don't really need him to get into the tower. So if you don't want him, just kill him off and go get your other party member back. But I advise at least trying him out. He looks frail, and let's face it, he is frail, but he does pack a punch. Welcome to the bio of one of the weirdest party members in the game, and not just because of the face that's gonna haunt your dreams tonight. Farris is a level 25 lunar fighter. At 25, he's the highest level party member you can get in this game. Starting equipment, the Jester's Mace and Jundar Leather. Starting skills, Alchemist, Diplomat, Loremaster, Merchant, Ranger, Stealth at a +5, Thief, Troubadour, Warrior, Halfdan, Sword. Like I said, Farris is weird. Even though he clearly is supposed to be a magic user based on what we learned about him, he cannot learn the wizard skill or any spells. I know, I don't get it either. However, when you look at what he has left to work with, he can more than make up for it. He's going to be hitting effectively and often, and with the fight coming up, that's what we're going to need. He's a very versatile out-of-combat party member as well, as you can clearly see. Now you're probably thinking, wow, I hit the jackpot. Well, here's the thing. You know how I've been saying that there are technically 5 party members that can't use wizard spells? Yeah, well, Farris is that technicality, and not just because of the aforementioned weird stuff. The thing is, you only really get Farris for this one fight, and then after that he leaves. Yeah, I know, it's not fair. There are ways you can keep him in the party long term, but those ways are inconsistent at their best. If you want to try for it, by all means. Otherwise, enjoy him while you've got him. The last viable tank in the game, Baird, a level 18 lunar fighter. Starting equipment is a great axe, scale armor, and hoplite shield. Starting skills are Healer, Loremaster, Troubadour, Warrior, Halfdan, Pole, Sword, Throne, and Shield. He cannot learn Alchemist, Wizard, and Missile. Baird functions a lot like Becan does in that he's an axe user, although unlike Becan, he can also use other weapons as well. Baird is also unique in that he's the most versatile of the tanks due to actually having really high intelligence for a tank. He's actually pretty well rounded right out of the gate, except for dexterity, but that's par for the course with tanks. It's a shame he can't use magic because he'd probably be good at it. If you're just coming out of Shamsuk's tower and you left your tank behind, now's a pretty good time to upgrade. However, by this point in the game, you're probably already committed to the tank you've been using, and from here on to the end, you don't really need a tank in your party, not when the rest of your party is already dealing so much damage on average and getting in a lot of hits to boot. By all means, get him if you want him, you can't go wrong with him, just weigh your options first. Donovan, a level 18 solar fighter. Starting equipment, Saber and Dragon Leather. Starting skills are Diplomat, Warrior, Wizard, Halfdan, Pole, and Sword. Starting spells are Versus Star, Banishing, Censor, and Teleportation, which is bullshit because he's not at the right wizard rank to be able to learn that. Whatever. He cannot learn Missile, Throne, and Shield. Donovan is meant to be a mix of warrior and wizard, whereas the other characters tend to gravitate towards one end or the other. He's meant to do both. So he can be on the front lines wreaking absolute havoc, or he can be behind the fighters casting magic. Like Baird, he's pretty well rounded in the stats department, and this time that includes dexterity. By now I bet you're thinking, wow, so he can throw high level fireballs like Niesen did and it'll hurt, right? Well, not quite. Remember at the beginning of the game when I said that Rheda was one of only 2 naming wizards in the entire game? Yeah, well, this is the other one. So he'll mainly be casting support magic, but hey, if this Let's Play has hopefully shown you anything, it's that naming magic is really goddamn useful. Really, I can't see a reason not to have him along if you're just back from the tower and you want a new member. One final note, if he ever leaves the party, most of the time he'll return to the inn, but sometimes he disappears from the game entirely, so you'll need to check the inn again to be absolutely sure. The only non-human party member in the game, and I have to say I'm kind of disappointed that there's a Jundar party member, but not a Mirari party member. How cool would it have been to have a little green Yoda fighting alongside us? Seriously. Oh well. Anyway, Sholeh, level 20 lunar fighter and the only natural user of star magic in the entire game. Starting equipment is a saber and Jundar leather. Starting skills are healer, ranger, stealth at a +9, warrior, wizard, hafted, missile, and sword. Starting spells are Web of Starlight, Dispel Star, Stellar Gravity, Dispel Naming, and Solar Wrath. She cannot learn Throne and Shield. Sholeh is without a doubt one of the best magic users in the game, and star magic is nothing to fuck around with. Web of Starlight is practically insta-death as we've already seen, and those other spells are not too shabby either. She is best used as long-distance support. She's terrific with a bow, so she can be long-ranged with that as well. And her healer skill is almost maxed out, so she is a terrific healer. Really, she's a fantastic party member all the way around. You can't go wrong with having her. However, this character comes with a big warning label stretched across her. Sholeh was severely neglected from a debugging standpoint. She is without a doubt the glitchiest party member to get. For starters, you need to have an empty party slot when you talk to her, so if you want her to join the party, someone has to die. Either that or you came all the way here from Shamsuk's Tower with an empty party slot, in which case, God, good for you. That's just how the way it is, though. You also need to be sure to say, then join, when the offer comes up. If you talk to her with a full roster, or you say something else, she will never join you. Another thing with severe consequences, when you reboot the game after getting her, her intelligence will drop down to 3. Yes, you heard me, 3. So be careful about that. Sholeh is also the source of the infamous 5th member glitch, where you can have a 5th member in the party for a specific fight only. And to round it off, like Becan, if she leaves the party, she is definitively gone for good. She just disappears from the game. So she is one of those high-risk, high-rewards characters for all the most bizarre reasons. A great party member, assuming everything goes well for you. The final party member in the game, and of course they save one of the best for last. Dougal, a level 22 lunar fighter and user of elemental magic. Starting equipment is an enchanted blade, enchanted hide, and moon shield. Starting spells are fireball, air shield, strength, debilitation, and mirror. And instead of listing off what skills he has, I'm going to list off what skills he can't have. Missile. That's it. With very balanced stats and an incredibly wide skill pool, Dougal is the very definition of a late-game jack-of-all-trades. He can do just about everything short of using a bow, and elemental magic is of course terrific offensive magic. Whatever role you need filled, he can fill it. I really can't recommend not adding him to your party, you'd be crazy not to. However, big however, if you want to have Dougal in your party for the endgame battles, do not add him until after you've returned to Araman and seen the dragon. I'll explain why later. So for now, just leave him here, get named, then come back and get him, and I promise you, you will not regret it. And that is it. That is every single party member you can have in Aidyn Chronicles the First Mage. So plan your party accordingly and have fun.